Hey besties, welcome back to another episode of the Hot Girl Guide podcast. I am setting myself a little podcast challenge because I did this in December with my YouTube channel. I forced myself to do Vlogmas every single day of December, and I'm going to do podcast miss. But in March. Basically, what I mean is I'm going to upload and record a podcast episode every single day for a week. I just need to get myself back into the flow of podcasting because I love podcasting, but it is something that I constantly push to the bottom of my to-do list, and I don't even write to-do lists. Do you know what I mean? I want to actually prioritize it. So I think by doing one every single day for a week, then we can kind of get in that flow, get going. And I have all my topics written out here in my notes section on my phone. So throughout this week, we're going to be talking about the life-changing decision that I recently made, the power of folding your underwear, my new theory on confidence, that it actually might be a lie, reasons to break up with someone, the things that I personally struggle with, the fact that you are not behind or old or a failure in your 20s, and the importance of celebrating yourself. So we have a lot of episodes to look forward to over the next 7 days. I hope that you will join me every single day, or you can just batch listen on your hot girl walk. Do you know what I mean? Either way, welcome to the newest episode of the Hot Girl Guide podcast, where I am here, your host, Rebecca Shortt, to empower you to become your inner hot girl, to let her shine more, to really channel that hot girl energy that we all have inside of us. It doesn't matter who you identify as, where you're from, what age you are, we all have some hot girl energy inside of us. Seeing as this podcast does not have a sponsor yet, the Hot Girl Guide podcast is sponsored by thehotgirlguide.com, which is the brand that I have in relation to this podcast. Even though the brand doesn't really have anything to do with the podcast, I just think it's a good name for a podcast, it's a good name for a brand, so I picked it for both, making my life easier as well as yours. So available on thehotgirlguide.com, you can get the Hot Girl Guide to Confidence, which is the ebook and audiobook that I wrote on confidence. You can also get a birth chart reading now, which is kind of a new offer that I have been doing, and I am loving reading all of your birth charts and giving you all the tea on what astrology is and what a birth chart is, and kind of breaking it all down for you in an easily digestible way. You can also sign up for my confidence masterclass that I'm actually having this Tuesday coming. So it's called the 5 Levels of Confidence Masterclass, where I basically go through a theory that I created on how to become confident called the 5 Levels of Confidence. So thank you to thehotgirlguide.com for believing in me. Today's podcast title is I made a life-changing decision. And I know that a lot of you probably clicked in because you're nosy and you don't ever listen to this podcast and you don't intend on ever listening to this podcast again. But I realize that a lot of people are nosy in this life, and you have to use that to your advantage in whatever way you can. That is my life advice for today's podcast. People are nosy, so use it to your advantage. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of made a life-changing decision recently, and it's not what you're thinking. I know what a lot of you are thinking. You're thinking, I'm gonna spill the tea about moving to Australia, which I'm planning to do soon, but this is not what that episode is about. This episode is about choosing myself and respecting my own time. I decided recently to stop watching Love Island. I love Love Island UK. I think it is great. There are many seasons of Love Island that I have watched that have been a big source of entertainment for me. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. This season, however, I don't know, is it the winter seasons are cursed, or is there something in the air? Is it the energy in the collective right now? I'm not really sure why, but this season was not hitting. And I would find myself every single night waiting for Love Island to be on. And every single night I would be disappointed. I would spend most of the episode scrolling on my phone, scrolling on TikTok, scrolling on Twitter, because we all know Twitter is the best place to be when Love Island is on. And I was doing all those things and not actually watching Love Island. And I feel like then by the time Love Island was finished, my brain was like on, and it was 10 o'clock at night. And I should have been getting ready to go to bed, but I had spent the last hour scrolling on my phone and watching a show that I wasn't even watching, and being annoyed at the fact that I'm like, this isn't even good. Why am I watching it? And there would be so many evenings where I'd be tired and maybe I'd want to go to bed a bit earlier. You know, I'm 28 now. Sometimes going to bed at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday is exciting, and it's exactly what you need. And there would be some evenings like that where I'd be like, I want to go to bed now, but Love Island's on, so I can't go to bed. But I was staying up for something that I did not enjoy watching. So I made a decision this week to just not watch it. I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to watch it tonight. I don't care if I feel like I'm missing out. I don't care. I'm not enjoying this season. So why every single night, as opposed to choosing myself and doing something in that hour, like watching something I actually enjoy, or, you know, cleaning my bedroom, doing my skincare routine, I was watching this TV show out of habit because I had watched it for the last few weeks, and I was like, well, I can't give up now. The final's nearly on. The final of Love Island is on next week. I could have just kept watching, but I decided not to. The reason that deciding not to watch Love Island was so life-changing for me, because it changed the narrative about how I think about myself and my own time. And I know this is dramatic. I know a lot of you are listening to this being like, Rebecca, that is so dramatic. How is choosing not to watch Love Island anymore with only a week to go so life-changing? And I'm going to tell you why. Because sometimes in life, we're doing things that we don't even realize that we don't enjoy doing anymore. Sometimes we stay doing things just because we've always done them. Maybe every single day you come home from work and you watch a certain show because you've always watched a certain show, but you're not really enjoying doing that at the moment because there's no show that you're really enjoying watching, but you're just doing it out of habit. And I just think that's so life-changing, because I literally caught myself. I was thinking about it when I was in the shower. I was in the shower and it was the evening before Love Island was on. I only did this a few days ago. And I was in the shower and I was washing my hair and I was like, oh, I wonder what time it is. Love Island's on tonight. And then I was like, I think always your best thoughts are in the shower because you've no distractions, obviously. And I was in the shower and I was like, I don't want to watch Love Island anymore. It's boring to me. So I'm not going to watch it tonight. And I made that decision in the shower because I talk to myself in the shower. I don't know what you do in the shower, but I talk to myself. And I was like, why am I doing this thing that I'm not enjoying in my spare time that should be used to do things that I either enjoy or to make me feel relaxed or to give myself some self-care? Like, you can do whatever you want in your spare time, but I was actively choosing to watch something every single night that I was not enjoying. So I got out of the shower, I moisturized my body head to toe, I dried my hair with my Dyson Airwrap, and I didn't watch Love Island. I went into bed, I think I watched an astrology video on YouTube, and then I fell asleep at 9:15, which I hadn't done in weeks because I had been watching Love Island every single night. Do you see what I'm getting at? I had such a good sleep that night. I woke up the next morning at 9 a.m. and jumped out of bed. I actually woke at 5 a.m. and I was like, this is way too early. Went back to sleep till 9. And the next day I felt so invigorated. Now, maybe it's a coincidence that the night that I decide to stop watching Love Island, I wake up the next morning, feel so invigorated, have a great day. But I took it as a sign. I was like, I'm not watching that anymore. I don't care if the final's this week. Maybe I'll watch the final, whatever day the final's on, just for the sake of it. But I'm not forcing myself to do something that I'm not enjoying just for the sake of doing it. And that's really empowering. And if you learn anything out of my decision to not watch Love Island, just think about what you're doing every day that maybe you're just doing out of habit, because our brains are on autopilot so often. Like, we don't actually realize how often our brains are on autopilot. I think it's something around 70%. So when our brain is on autopilot doing these things because they're a habit that we do every day, your brain then isn't creating new neural pathways because you're just doing things and you're on autopilot. So I pulled myself out of that autopilot and I was like, you're not watching Love Island anymore because you're not enjoying it. And you can apply this advice to anything. It could be a friendship that you're not really enjoying anymore and you're kind of hanging out with the person because you've always hung out with them. It could be a relationship. It could be a TV show. Basically, it could be anything that does not excite you anymore, that you're just doing for the sake of doing. And maybe you didn't even realize until you listened to this podcast episode today that you were doing something that was just boring you, that it wasn't exciting you anymore. And I think life is too short to just continue doing something for the sake of it. So yeah, I did stop watching Love Island this week, and it did kind of change my life because I changed the narrative about myself. I chose myself. When you choose yourself, no matter what the situation, you create a new story about yourself, that you don't do things that you don't enjoy just for the sake of it. Obviously in life there are some boring things we have to do just for the sake of it. But something like Love Island, no one was forcing me to do that. No one was forcing me to watch it at 9 o'clock every night. So I stopped. Will I watch the summer one? Probably. But if I'm not enjoying it, I will stop doing it. And I absolutely love that for me. Bestie, after listening to this podcast, I want you to go out into the rest of your day, into the rest of your week, into your weekend, and reevaluate what you're doing and be like, am I doing this because I'm enjoying doing it? Or am I doing it because I've got into the habit of doing it and I'm actually not really enjoying it anymore and I'm going to switch things up? I think it's cute, fun and interesting to switch things up, and we're almost at the end of the astrological new year. Aries season is coming in fast and hot, and that means it's a new astrological year. So 2023 might have started in January, but the new year is starting in 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? I think it's even less than 2 weeks. I think it's like 10 days away. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I cannot wait for this cute, fun, fresh podcast challenge that I'm about to do. The next episode that is up on this 7-day extravaganza of daily podcasts is going to be called The Power of Folding Your Underwear. So I hope you're ready for that. It might even be available by the time you listen to this one. So I'll see you soon. Don't forget to leave a stunning 5-star review on Spotify if you like the pod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. The podcast does have a YouTube channel. She's kind of lacking at the moment, but we're going to give her some love this week. And don't forget, this podcast is sponsored by thehotgirlguide.com. So if you feel like you need some confidence in your life, you need some manifesting, you could get yourself a confidence or manifesting guide. If you want to know your birth chart and you want me to read it specifically for you, you can also get that there. Or if you don't want to do any of those things and you don't want to spend your hard-earned money on my brand, that is so fine. You can share this podcast on social media for free. Great. Okay. See you next time. Goodbye.